Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin based on novel. So let's start. Luo Feng looked at the materials for the 10 Directions world form in front of him. The golden scale beetle corpses were given by his master, Emperor Chu, and the other biological materials were obtained from the world he was garrisoned in. The 10 Directions world form I have comprehended is different from all of these, Luo Feng marveled. The materials for the 10 Directions world form came from different creatures, so naturally, there were some differences. What matter should I use to construct this form? Luo Feng pondered. According to the World Life Form Heritage description, simply comprehending the 10 Directions world form only accomplishes half. It's also necessary to study the origin Tao of matter, to find matter suitable for the 10 Directions world form. Only by combining the two can a powerful life form be created. Like some who have only comprehended the great Tao of life origin, such as the ancestral god of the snow realm, their life forms are not inferior to the 10 Directions world form, but because they are condensed purely from divine power, they are much weaker. With the capability of formless and intangible, Luo Feng could still imitate it. Let's try. Luo Feng attempted to transform. He started with the 10 Directions world form as the foundation, transforming by referencing the matter of primordial bloodline creatures. Whoosh! Countless divine powers were transforming. The previous form had a maximum of 108 trillion particles. But the 10 Directions world form is a world unto itself, without limit. Luo Feng understood this from his heritage. In theory, as long as his soul can helm it and his spiritual will can control it, the life form of the 10 Directions world form can grow without limit. Soon, Luo Feng, referencing 7 materials, created 7 avatars. These 7 kinds of matter are all very suitable for the 10 Directions world form, with the Silvershan Beast King having the highest compatibility, Luo Feng quickly determined. Of course, these were creatures naturally bred from the primordial bloodline with 10 Directions world form, so their material constitution was naturally rather perfect. Transform. Luo Feng began to transform, divine power continuously converting. With the increasing number of conversions, Luo Feng became more proficient. However, it still took almost half a day in the land of origin to completely transform the godly body. The godly body has completely transformed, and my soul and spiritual will can still control it. Luo Feng felt relatively at ease inside Star Tower, which had become incredibly large and towering. The soul is much like an army. The more immense the soul, the larger the number of troops naturally. The spiritual will, on the other hand, is much like the army's commander. A powerful commander can make the army unleash tremendous combat power. A weak commander can make the army fall weak and defenseless. To control a powerful physical body, both the soul and spiritual will are very important. Continue to accumulate. At this moment, the small universe at his home was continuously transferring divine power into the primal chaotic space within his body. In the primal chaotic space, divine power was also constantly being transformed into the power of the 10 Directions world form, perpetuating his growth. At this stage, the size of the body depends on one's own Tao, Luo Feng realized. Godly kings place great importance on unlimited godly bodies because they represent foundation. The size of the small universe is determined by the foundation. Luo Feng's perfect divine body meant that his small universe was as vast as the supreme rules would allow. Yet the unlimited godly bodies were somewhat inferior. If it were a weaker godly body, the small universe would be smaller, corresponding to the primal chaotic space inside, which would become a small universe that is much smaller in the future, and the souls naturally bred would be smaller too. The foundation determines the size of the small universe, as well as the godly body and soul foundations. Of course, the foundations of the godly body and soul can be changed through cultivation. If one cultivates the soul path, it is natural to strengthen the soul, but this path is very difficult. 99% of godly kings have their souls grow naturally. To change the foundation of the godly body also requires the cultivation of the body's Tao. The great Tao of life origin is the best at this. Like the ancestral god of the snow realm, every river and snowflake in the entire snow realm territory is part of his body. Only at this step of cultivation does one begin to transcend the foundation of the godly body. Luo Feng felt that, after the godly body had completely transformed, an invisible force was converging in the primal chaotic space. As he had a perfect divine body, Luo Feng's primal chaotic space was spacious and tough enough. At that moment, under the converging invisible force, the primal chaotic space began to naturally give rise to a world. An inner world was evolving naturally. This is the world life form. Luo Feng sensed all of this. Under the 10 directions world form, each basic unit of life encompassed a small world. And a giant physical body formed by countless life units, where the power of the world was extremely dense, would naturally open up into a complete world. The primal chaotic space within was obviously the most fitting. Boom, boom, boom. The massive body's endless power of the world converged, and the small world continued to grow. Let's go outside and have a look. Feeling that the small universe was stable, Luo Feng's true body finally exited the Star Tower and stealthily left Chu Capital, concealing his power. Whoosh! Luo Feng's body naturally merged with the world, as if becoming a part of it. In just a few breaths, he arrived at Huyang City. As a world life form, even traveling is this fast, Luo Feng exclaimed. Although he hadn't reached the level of those terrifying beings who could descend to a place with a single thought, reaching Huyang City from the borders of flame-wind ancient country in just a few breaths still amazed Luo Feng. This was much faster than before. My small universe can naturally reflect the outside world. Luo Feng stood above Huyang City, and his small universe naturally reflected it, able to cover an incredibly vast area. 3 primal chaos prefectures. Luo Feng confirmed. The reflection of the vast expanse covered by his inner small universe astonished Luo Feng. Each primal chaos prefecture was incredibly vast, with large cities being merely an insignificant point within a primal chaos prefecture. It must be understood that even a second-rate country typically has only a few dozen primal chaos prefectures. As for third-rate countries, their entire territory encompasses roughly 10 primal chaos prefectures. The reach of Luo Feng's world reflection could encompass 3 primal chaos prefectures, which revealed how terrifying it was. Within the range of world reflection, I can call upon the power of the world in a thought to obliterate my enemies. My current strength is almost comparable to that of an undefeatable first realm of godly king, and yet I possess such methods. What about those at the second realm of the godly king, or even at the ultimate realm? Luo Feng became increasingly clear-headed. No wonder the catastrophe beasts at the ultimate realm of the godly king can unleash apocalyptic disasters. An undefeatable first realm godly king is by default considered an overlord of the land of origin. A true first realm godly king has a far superior divine power reserve than mine. If they were to cultivate into a world life form, it would only be more colossal. This was also why Luo Feng considered himself nearly an undefeatable first realm godly king. However, at this moment, he was continuously absorbing energy, his home's small universe was also transmitting energy, and his physical body was still growing. He believed it would not take too long to reach the standard of a normal undefeated first realm godly king. I still need to familiarize myself with my body and unearth its many capabilities. Luo Feng's true body instantly entered the garrison mansion of Huyang City. As a cultivator of the great Tao of life origin, having numerous avatars, the significance of his true body and avatars wasn't much different. As long as a sliver of strength remained, he could cultivate it back. Consequently, treasures like the Star Tower became even more important. Having heard too many accounts of second-realm godly kings getting attacked by the 2 ancient countries, Luo Feng dared not bring it out until he had thoroughly researched the Star Tower. Although he was now qualified to be called an overlord, he still had to remain low-key in the face of the 2 ancient countries. According to the world life form, this special grade inheritance, I am currently merely at the threshold of being a world life form. The more Luo Feng understood, the humbler he became. According to the inheritance, the primordial life outside the braided cage could even have a body that rivaled a source world. Compared to such existences, he was as insignificant as an ant. At least I have taken the first step. Luo Feng then resumed his closed-door cultivation, familiarizing himself with his various abilities. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Xiangjie City. How long do you plan to stay in Polu City this time? Moyu Qingyang asked his wife, Zhong Yunj. I don't know. Zhong Yunj said. You don't know? Moyu Qingyang was taken aback. Zhong Yunj explained, having the opportunity to become a disciple of godly King Polu is an incredible fortune for me. Of course, I must seize the chance and cultivate at Polu Mountain. Only by cultivating continuously at Polu Mountain do I have the opportunity to frequently receive guidance from my master. If I'm always in Xiangjie City, when will I get such guidance? That's not what I meant. Moyu Qingyang said, I hold an important position in Xiangjie City, and I can't leave for an extended period. If you're always in Polu City, wouldn't we be separated all the time? We are both cultivators. Being apart for a short time is nothing we can't endure. Zhong Yunj said. How about you leave a divine power incarnation here? Moyu Qingyang suggested. Cultivation requires focus, and one must not be distracted. Zhong Yunj said, when I feel it is time to come back, I will return. Moyu Qingyang looked at Zhong Yunj, feeling a mix of emotions. You're not even willing to spare a divine power incarnation from distraction. His parents had a great relationship and had 3 children. His elder brother and younger brother were the same, both having wives and children. Moyu Qingyang too had thought to marry and have children. Only, his wife Zhong Yunj placed great importance on the path of cultivation. Qingyang, Morosa appeared beside her and said with a smile, I've told you before, emotions will affect your cultivation. Look, Yunji is very decisive. She doesn't want to have children. She wants to focus on cultivation. She doesn't even want to leave a divine power incarnation, she wants to focus on cultivation. She is seizing the opportunity to dedicate her heart to cultivation. Luo Feng was immersed in his own closed-door cultivation, not paying attention to his disciples' affairs. But Morosa was always watching, keeping an eye on the progress of his disciples' emotions. Emotions affect cultivation? Moyu Qingyang shook her head. My father, my brothers, none of them have such issues. Isn't that what Yunji is doing? Cutting off distractions, focusing solely on cultivation, eliminating all interference, Morosa said leisurely. Why can't emotions and cultivation coexist? Moyu Qingyang did not believe it. Time passed once more. Moyu Qingyang personally went to Polu City, arriving on Polu Mountain. Divine Monarch Moyu, Sister Zhong is sparring with other fellow sect members. A disciple enthusiastically greeted her and guided her on the way. Moyu Qingyang saw it too. She saw Zhong Yunj and 5 other fellow sect members sparring and exchanging pointers. Naturally, Zhong Yunj was much weaker in strength, but the others were giving her face, controlling their power. Why have you come? Zhong Yunj saw Moyu Qingyang and approached with a smile. You never return, so I had to come here, Moyu Qingyang said. Zhong Yunj explained with a smile, this place is truly fit for the cultivation of godly kings. The disciples here are very outstanding, many much stronger than me. Sparring with them, I gain a lot. Cultivating here is much better than in Xiangjie City. I believe you understand too, Qingyang. Has Polu godly king given you any guidance? Moyu Qingyang asked. Not yet, Zhong Yunj replied. No one knows when Master will appear, it's a matter of luck. Perhaps after some time, Master will give us some guidance. Moyu Qingyang looked at her. Then when do you plan to return? Why are you rushing me? Zhong Yun's expression changed as she looked at Moyu Qingyang. This is Master's place. To be able to become a direct disciple of a godly king is a tremendous opportunity. Why would you want to block my chance? I came to confirm one thing. If you want to focus entirely on cultivation, not wanting to be disturbed by emotions, not wanting my interference, Moyu Qingyang said as he looked at Zhong Yunj, then I also do not wish to be disturbed by you. Zhong Yunj was stunned. Let's hear your decision, Moyu Qingyang said. I won't give up the path of cultivation, Zhong Yunj said calmly as she looked at Moyu Qingyang. This is the greatest opportunity for cultivation I've had since I was born. No one will stop me, Qingyang, you should know my choice. I guessed as much, just wanted a clear answer. Moyu Qingyang turned around and walked away. Let's just part ways here, then. Zhong Yunj watched Moyu Qingyang leave but did not call out to stop him. Cultivators, there are times to come together and times to part. In the ordinary days that laid before her, Moyu Qingyang was a good end. But now she is a direct disciple of a godly king, a path she is more dedicated to. Emotions will only affect me, Zhong Yunj thought in her heart, and turned to join her fellow sect members. Master, Morosa communicated through mental transmission. Immersed in the study of the life form, Luo Feng replied, Morosa, what's happened? Master, you don't care about your disciple? Your disciple and Zhong Yunj have completely split, Morosa said excitedly. Split? Luo Feng was surprised. He, as a master, indeed wasn't very responsible. He hadn't seen Zhong Yunj more than a few times himself. I've felt something was not right for a while now. Qingyang has been so troubled by her that he couldn't focus. This trip to Polu Mountain, sure enough, it turned out just as I had thought, they really did split up. Morosa said joyfully, it's good that they split, very good indeed. It's just a small trial of emotions, Luo Feng laughed, not taking it too seriously, and continued to focus on his own cultivation. I'm at a critical moment in my cultivation, you take care of Qingyan's matter. Alright, it's all on me. Morosa didn't need to focus on cultivation and was quite bored anyway, so naturally, he stayed constantly aware of Moyu Qingyan's situation. Outside Huyang City, in the quiet room of the city owner's mansion. Dressed in silver robes, Luo Feng sat cross-legged. The material of the 10 Directions world form he had constructed was based on the Silver Mountain Beast King, and even his robe was a natural condensation of power, tough and indestructible. The inner world founded upon the foundation of primal chaotic space became even more formidable and stable. Having mastered the basics of being a world life form and familiarizing myself with my own abilities, it is time to comprehend the secret techniques that harness the power of a world life form, Luo Feng mused as he looked at his palm, which possessed endless might. Boom! The aura in Luo Feng's palm suddenly surged. Previously, imitating the form of primal chaos layer creatures, I was unable to ignite my power. However, with this 10 Directions world form, I can ignite the power for a greater burst. Luo Feng observed the modest strength erupting from his palm. But when unleashing the power, it places a higher demand on spiritual will. I also need to comprehend the secret technique of igniting power. Luo Feng was grateful that as a world life form, part of the special grade inheritance, he had access to many complementary secret techniques. The only problem was, attempting to comprehend these techniques at the level of primal chaos realm was extremely difficult. The royal capital of Shi Kingdom covered an expansive area, with a majestic royal palace at its center, the palace of the Emperor of Qiankuan. Inside the palace, Big Brother, Monarch. The other 4 godly kings of Shi Kingdom addressed each other differently. Wuxiang Ancestor, Demon Blade Ancestor, and the Emperor of Qiankuan had been through life-and-death situations together, conquered battles, and founded the nation side by side since they were in the first realm of Godly King. Even after the Emperor of Qiankuan had reached the second realm of Godly King, they continued to call each other brothers. The other 2, Stream Rui Godly King and Skull Peak Godly King, were invited to join later when the Emperor of Qiankuan was already in the second realm of Godly King. My lords, the Emperor of Qiankuan said as he sat in the seat of honor. Even as he sat there, his invisible aura of terror caused the other 4 to hold their breath. They also knew that the Emperor of Qiankuan, having obtained the more profound primordial bloodline from Flamewind Ancient Country and now following the primordial bloodline path, was not comparable to a newly ascended second realm godly king. The existence of a godly king in the second realm, each a ruler in their own right, initially sought to reach the ultimate realm on their own strength. They all knew that cultivating the primordial bloodline came with many future problems. However, as time passed, those in the second realm of Godly King realized just how far the ultimate realm of God King was from them. When the gap was overwhelming, they would despair and choose another path, relying on external powers and following the bloodline path with the help of the primordial bloodline. In Flamewind Ancient Country, 6 emperors cultivated with the help of primordial bloodline, and including the empress's previous life, there were arguably 7 bloodline path emperors. In Thunder Ancient Country, every emperor followed the primordial bloodline path. Seeing both imperial clans of the ancient countries follow this path shows that indeed it is a clear way forward. Its biggest advantage, a significant increase in strength, cannot be overshadowed by all potential problems. One by one, those non-imperial strong forces hit their limits, and one after another, they switched to cultivating the primordial bloodline. Even though the primordial bloodline they acquired and many other supplementary resources were far inferior to those of the emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries, these were still enough to significantly enhance their strength. Within the treasure land Tianhe, I, together with my friends, have set up an ambush, intending to destroy the true body of the monarch of Yu country in one fell swoop, the emperor of Tiankuan declared. As long as his true body is annihilated, all the great resources and primordial bloodline he obtained at great costs will be wasted. This was a flaw in cultivating the primordial bloodline path. Much of the resources were invested in the physical body, and with the true body's death, it was tantamount to bankruptcy. If they were to cultivate again using a resurrection body, they would have to start all over again. As for those who cultivate on their own, even after reincarnation, they could quickly return to their peak strength. The monarch of Yu country, gravely wounded, fled deep into Tianhe. We tried our best to hunt him down, but he would take refuge wherever it was dangerous. The emperor of Tiankuan shook his head. That's why I think we should force him out from the outside. The other 4 godly kings of Sha Kingdom listened. Force from the outside. Our territory of Sha Kingdom will advance towards Yu Kingdom along the entire border, the emperor of Tiankuan said. Do not advance too quickly, capturing one primal chaos prefecture after another. I want to see if the monarch of Yu country still has the patience to hide within Tianhe. Clever, the Wuxiang ancestor said excitedly. This monarch of Yu country doesn't possess the clone technique. He only has 2 options, either hide in Tianhe and watch Yu kingdom being invaded and shrinking, or give up his true body and cultivate a new one to defend the kingdom. To give up his true body and cultivate again would mean a significant reduction in strength, yet, as a second realm godly king, he would still possess deterrence. What if the godly kings of the Yu kingdom intervene? Skull Peak godly king asked. Those who obstruct us will be killed, the emperor of Tiankuan replied calmly. This matter was decided together with several friends, and we must drive the monarch of Yu country out of Tianhe. His primordial bloodline offers him more advantages in exploring Tianhe than us. The other 4 godly kings understood. These first realm godly kings struggled immensely to enter the most ordinary treasures like the infinite space. Among them, Wuxiang ancestor only had one opportunity to visit infinite space by relying on his brotherhood and selling himself to the Two Realms Palace. Even more precious treasures. They dare not even dream of gaining entrance. These are the battlegrounds for the second realm of godly kings. For those in the first realm of godly king, their most stable source of resources still comes from their own territories. Vast lands continuously produce various natural treasures, and the residence fee from numerous cities also adds up. Though it may not seem much, over time, it becomes the most substantial income for a first realm godly king. But the emperor of Tiankuan was not interested in such gains. His sights were set on the resources within the treasure land Tianhe. The resources of Tianhe, for those cultivators of water-type primordial bloodlines, were exceedingly beneficial. Monarch of Yu country hasn't made an appearance, and I reckon not many other godly kings dare to act. If they did, having their true body extinguished once would be enough to keep them far away, said the godly king of Demon Blade at one side. But big brother, that great Saint Luo, he does have a city on the border, Huyang City. Shall we make a move? Luo he? The emperor of Tiankuan smiled lightly. A single city is nothing much, let him have it. Our objective is to force the monarch of Yu country's hand. He got off easy, said Wuxiang, the ancient ancestor on the side. You all draft the detailed invasion plan. I only have one requirement, act as soon as possible, the emperor of Tiankuan instructed. I want to see whether the monarch of Yu country can hold back or not. Yes. Wuxiang, the ancient ancestor, the godly king of Demon Blade, the godly king of Flowing Radium, and the godly king of Bone Summit responded with respect. Outside Huyang City. Clad in a robe of silver, Luo Feng stood in the midst of a mountain forest. He looked at a plant in front of him that bore purple flowers. When he stretched out his hand to touch the purple blossom, the flower swayed and its aura rapidly intensified. From an ordinary plant, the aura quickly reached true God level, true God of void space level, and even eternal true God level. Boom! The purple flower burst into ashes. Not even an eternal true God level life form can be catalyzed. Luo Feng shook his head lightly. In the land of origin, there are some ancient beings that can catalyze godly king level powers. The gap is not just a small one. Luo Feng walked to a red fruit tree beside him and attempted to touch it once more. The red fruit tree swayed along, its aura surging vastly, and then, much like before, upon reaching the aura of eternal true God level, it also completely disintegrated into ashes. Let's try again. Flowers, grass, and even rocks, Luo Feng tried to catalyze them all, yet everything turned to ashes. An exotic beast in the distance watched this scene, observing the flowers and grass reach the aura of an eternal true God level, then turn to ashes. It was frightened into fleeing far away. Where exactly is the problem? Luo Feng stood amidst the forest, very perplexed and deep in thought, wondering where the flaw lay in the combination of the 6 major branches of life. In the midst of deep contemplation, in the collisions of life's 6 major branch mysteries, all of a sudden, the complete vitality branch emerged in his mind. Chem. Luo Feng was stunned. The life spirituality branch. Luo Feng had felt long ago that just by comprehending the 6 major branches of the great Tao of life origin, he would be able to grasp them with ease. But he had followed the guidance of the special grade inheritance, not pursuing deliberate comprehension. Instead, he focused on understanding high-level secret techniques at a lower realm. But at this moment, without deliberate comprehension, the life spirituality branch had already emerged in his mind. So this is the complete life spirituality branch. Luo Feng studied it carefully. Boom! Boom! As Luo Feng contemplated the complete life spirituality branch, it triggered a response, and naturally, he understood 2 more branches, precisely the origin of life and body of life branches, the ones he had been pondering the longest. 3 branches have been realized. A smile appeared on Luo Feng's face, feeling the 3 branches and contrasting them with the secret technique 10 directions world form. Spirit light surfaced in his mind, deepening his understanding of the 10 directions world form. Suddenly, the remaining 3 branches were also naturally comprehended. The blood branch, which is a very famous branch under the great Tao of life origin. Many other godly kings from different paths yearned to comprehend it, as it brings many advantages to cultivating the primordial bloodline. The vitality branch, once achieved, bestows an incredibly lively life force. Even if a strand of divine power is annihilated, it can recover naturally. To completely obliterate it becomes 100-fold or 1,000-fold more difficult. The life and death branch. Outside of the land of origin, there are legends of a death origin Tao, which naturally encompasses many aspects. However, the death branch of the great Tao of life origin is merely one aspect of life. The disappearance of life makes way for a better rebirth. Gathering together to the end and comprehending one branch, it has a continuous effect, naturally leading to the realization of all 6 branches. Luo Feng was quite pleased. Morosa had also comprehended 6 major branches at once. Although there was a slight difference in sequence for me, still, within the time of 1 cup of tea, all 6 branches were comprehended. Compared to that, my accumulation in the great Tao of destruction's origin is much weaker. Luo Feng understood this point. On one hand, the mysteries of destruction's origin that Morosa displayed were inferior to the complete shock exhibited by the great Tao of life origin of the primordial cosmos, resulting in a much weaker effect on comprehension. On the other hand, Luo Feng had dedicated most of his efforts to the 10 directions world form. After all, the transformation method is most suitable for this path. Now that I've comprehended, let's become a godly king. Luo Feng had no thoughts of delaying whatsoever. Next part. Back in his hometown region, within Luo Feng's small universe. Xu Xin, Luo Ping, Luo Hai, and others, including his father Luo Hongguo, mother Gong Xinlan, younger brother Luo Hua, and Luo Feng's personally cultivated child Shimo, were transported there. Luo Feng, why did you summon everyone over? Xu Xin was somewhat surprised as everyone present possessed immortal lives, making it rare for them all to gather together. Dad must have something important. Luo Hai looked at his father, full of anticipation. The silver-haired youth Shimor stood by the side. Being the only true god among the Yuhai lineage cultivated by Luo Feng, he was filled with endless admiration for Father God. There is indeed something important. Luo Feng looked at his dearest family members. I am about to break through, and my small universe will expand massively once again. This will also be the last expansion of my small universe. You can go outside the universe and watch the entire process closely. According to Luo Feng's understanding, a small universe at the godly king level was already its final form. In weaker times, each level of transformation had to be accompanied by transformations in the small universe before the godly body could transform. If the small universe perished, strength could not break through. Of course, in the primal chaos realm, if one's spiritual will was strong enough, one could start a new life with the reincarnation secret technique. Once one became a godly king, growth thereafter would no longer be constrained by the small universe. Even if the small universe perished, a godly king with a high enough realm could still reach beyond the ultimate realm of God King. That's because the ultimate realm of God King had already mastered a complete origin great Tao. To comprehend deeper levels beyond was already outside the range of supreme rules, and one must grope alone in the darkness. Dad, your small universe is already 1 trillion light-years in diameter. It's going to get even bigger. Luo Ping was also quite shocked. Just watch and you'll know soon enough. Luo Feng smiled. All right, Shimor, you escort everyone out. Yes, Father God, Shimor responded. Soon, Shimor piloted a flying boat secret treasure, taking everyone to a far area outside the small universe. Last time, it took Luo Feng 5 years for his small universe to grow from 100 billion light-years to 1 trillion light-years in diameter, Luo Hongwa said as he observed the massive small universe from afar through the flying boat. I wonder how big it will get this time. It's always tenfold each time. Could it really reach 10 trillion light-years in diameter this time? Luo Hai couldn't help but say. The diameter of the primordial cosmos itself is 10 trillion light-years. Could Dad's small universe become as large as the primordial cosmos? Luo Ping couldn't believe it. In the eyes of all the creatures in the surrounding regions, the primordial cosmos is very unique. It is vast and is the cradle of countless races. All creatures think that a small universe is fundamentally inferior to the primordial cosmos. It's expanding. Shu Xin looked outside the flying boat. The already massive small universe suddenly brightened up. Infinite energy, as if descending from nothingness, continuously flowed into Luo Feng's small universe, rapidly growing it. 1 trillion light-years, 1.5 trillion light-years, 2 trillion light-years. With its size increasing dramatically, the growth rate began to slow down. The influx of energy did not slow down, but the more it grew later, the more energy it required. The growth rate of the small universe left Luo Feng's family aboard the flying boat in awe. How can it grow so fast this time? It's much faster than last time. Shu Xin, Luo Hai, and others were very shocked. As it grew too quickly, when Luo Feng's small universe reached 3 trillion light-years in diameter, other cultivators from the surrounding areas arrived, including human race true gods and primal chaos overlords, as well as mighty ones from other races. The mighty ones from various races were shocked as they looked on. The primordial cosmos has a diameter of 10 trillion light-years. Luo Feng's small universe now measured 3 trillion light-years and was still growing. Visually, it was increasingly nearing the primordial cosmos. How can Luo Feng's small universe be so large? The primal chaos city lord was immensely shocked, especially when the small universes of typical true gods were merely 100 million light-years in diameter. Luo Feng's small universe had grown unbelievably large. The difference was countless times. Just 3 months. Under the gaze of various mighty ones, in just 3 months Earth time, and with mind-boggling energy influx, Luo Feng's small universe grew to its limit. This. Regardless of whether it was other races or the human race, everyone watched in disbelief. Even though they were witnessing it all happen before their eyes, it was still overwhelmingly shocking. 10 trillion light-years in diameter, the same size as the primordial cosmos. A cultivator's small universe can reach this step, the various cultivators thought. Meanwhile, the divine power incarnation of the primordial ancestor was also watching alone. This, hailing from the land of origin and having achieved the primal chaos realm and becoming a guest elder of the flame-wind ancient country, the primordial ancestor had seen much, making him find this all the more incredible. I've always known that Luo Feng's small universe was absurdly large among its peers, but I never expected that at the godly king level, it would reach a scale unprecedented in the entire land of origin, the primordial ancestor observed. Even the small universes of godly kings, despite becoming stronger and diligently repairing their cosmic frameworks, could never reach this level due to flaws in their foundational nature present at birth. Only those with a foundation of a perfect life form could possess a perfection-level godly king's small universe. Luo Feng's foundation is too profound, the primordial ancestor thought to himself. I believe Luo Feng's future will render him a prominent figure throughout the entire land of origin, perhaps even deciding the fates of countless creatures. The primordial ancestor, who journeyed through the cycles of reincarnation with Luo Feng, could distinctly feel Luo Feng's rapid growth. He had Luo Feng's help, inheritance, and resources. But Luo Feng had been struggling alone, growing even faster than the primordial ancestor himself. Even in his hometown, he was invincibly sweeping across dangers and resolving the catastrophe of the sector beast. In the land of origin, he became a godly king in no time. I am witnessing the birth of a miracle, the primordial ancestor was astounded. This time, as soon as Luo Feng's small universe broke through, boundless energy from a mysterious land came pouring in, leading to such rapid growth. Boom! As energy descended from the mysterious land, it also connected this place with Luo Feng's consciousness. The moment their consciousnesses connected, Luo Feng grasped much information. This infusion of infinite energy was the first and last of its kind. Luo Feng's small universe had reached the same level as the primordial cosmos, which was the maximum level allowed by the entire source world. Moreover, afterward, Luo Feng's small universe, like the primordial cosmos, had an upper limit to the energy it could hold. This was also why most areas of the primordial cosmos were void and dark. Because the energy was limited and, as the creatures proliferated and their cultivation grew stronger, the needed energy would gradually exceed the carrying limit, even causing the void areas of darkness within the primordial cosmos to expand and ultimately self-destruct. From now on, I can control the population within my small universe, Luo Feng thought. This is the difference between having an owner and being ownerless. With an owner, it can be perfectly maintained, even perpetually sustained. Ownerless. Without the ability to restrain countless creatures, it can only undergo great destruction and start anew. A small universe is also a kind of grace bestowed upon countless cultivators. It allows cultivators to better understand the rules of the universe's operation. It allows cultivators to absorb energy thousands to millions of times faster, thus sustaining a massive godly body. In the land of origin, cultivators generally have larger godly bodies than those from other source worlds, precisely because of the existence of small universes. Luo Feng could sense this information. The supreme rules are compassionate, protective, and hopeful for the creatures to grow into a towering tree that can even nourish the source world in return. Every source world has different rules. But all are protective of all life. Are our godly bodies generally much larger because of the small universes? Luo Feng understood. Indeed, if he let his body absorb the energy of heaven and earth directly, it would be much slower than through the small universe. If the godly body were destroyed, rebuilding it might take tens of thousands of eras, perhaps not even enough time. But with a small universe, it could be restored within one era. So, a small universe is really a kind of grace. Luo Feng's consciousness connected with the mysterious land, gaining more understanding and glimpsing this area. Here, there are 9 great origin Tao paths. Time, space, life, destruction, infinite, matter, extreme point, world, causality. Each origin great Tao has many aspects. Different observation methods yield different results. This is the first time I have seen the complete great Tao of destruction origin. Luo Feng watched the paths of life and destruction the most clearly, as he was most familiar with them, and his attention immediately focused on the Great Tao of Destruction Origin. The Great Tao of Destruction Origin, at first glance, resembled a terrifying dark red monster, its gaping maw as if ready to devour everything. Upon closer inspection, it also depicted the true form of a sector beast, holy and beautiful, devoid of any destructive atmosphere. In a trance, it seemed like a giant black eye, making Luo Feng's heart tremble. Having a deep understanding of the 6 branches of the Great Tao of Destruction Origin and reaching a bottleneck enabled Luo Feng to see many aspects of the entire Great Tao of Destruction Origin, deepening his understanding significantly. For a long time, he only contemplated the Great Tao of Destruction Origin as shown by Morosa. For the first time, he contemplated it completely. Naturally, Luo Feng gained a lot. I feel that if I focus on contemplating the 6 branches of the Great Tao of Destruction Origin, it won't take long before I comprehend it. Luo Feng suddenly had this intuition, the first time he felt this way about the Great Tao of Destruction Origin. No rush, according to the guidance of my predecessors, I will contemplate high realm secret techniques in a low realm as the main practice, constantly increasing my accumulation until a natural breakthrough occurs. Luo Feng, now a godly king, was even less hurried. Each step must be more solid. The more solid, the further you go. After all, the supreme rules could not bestow any more upon me. Luo Feng understood this point. Becoming a godly king this time, the infusion of infinite energy, and letting his spirit touch the supreme rules, were the last graces bestowed upon him. Afterward, it was all up to Luo Feng to fight on his own. Luo Feng could also feel the innate expectation of the supreme rules. It was hoping that this outstanding child would grow up sufficiently outstanding to, at some point, protect it in return. Are there crises even for the supreme rules in this world? Luo Feng faintly sensed. Luo Feng felt that his time merging with the supreme rules was running short and stopped contemplating the complete Great Tao of Destruction Origin, beginning to observe the others. 9 Origin Great Taos. Luo Feng saw. These 9 origin Great Taos do not merge with each other. They only affect each other, combining and operating together, ultimately forming the complete supreme rules of the land of origin, determining all. The ways creatures are conceived, the methods of cultivation, time, space, and other aspects, are all decided by the supreme rules. This. Luo Feng's consciousness tried to observe a broader scope. He saw the entire land of origin. He saw further across the 4 corners of the universe ocean. The reach of the universe ocean was billions of times larger than the land of origin, but the energy was thinner, more void. At the very edges of the universe ocean, different space-time layers held 3,000 primordial cosmoses. Luo Feng also saw his own hometown's primordial cosmos, next to which was another universe of comparable size, which was his own small universe. A broader scope. Luo Feng's consciousness continued to seek a larger scope. His perception clearly sensed the entire source world. The vast source world, like a supergiant egg. The core of the egg was the land of origin, surrounded by the endless universe ocean. The 3,000 primordial cosmoses were merely floating specks of light. Beyond the source world, beyond this supergiant egg was a dark void, which Luo Feng could no longer see clearly. Sigh. Following that, Luo Feng's consciousness was completely expelled from this mysterious place. This opportunity to merge his spirit with the supreme rules was also, under the allowance of the supreme rules, the only opportunity Luo Feng would have in his lifetime. Land of origin, Huyang City, inside the quiet room of the city owner's mansion. Luo Feng's consciousness had completely returned to his physical body, the original primal chaotic space within him having long since transformed into a vaster, more resilient space. Godly kings generally carve out a universe within this space. Because the laws of cosmic operation are the manifestations of personal enlightenment. This too is a form of cultivation. Boom tilde 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 like the mighty Tianhe, endless surging energy from the mysterious land transformed into divine power, ceaselessly pouring into the space within Luo Feng, already forming an infinite ocean. And the mysterious land kept on pouring more. In just 3 Earth months, the small universe in his hometown area could grow to the size of the primordial cosmos. This shows how fierce the energy infusion was, and now this energy was still supplying the formation of Luo Feng's godly body. Transformation of the godly body. Luo Feng actively guided it, and the infinite divine power quickly formed a new godly body. This godly body is probably going to be massive. I myself might find it difficult to conceal all aura, Luo Feng thought, and immediately, an avatar far away in Chu capital carrying the Star Tower silently left the Chu capital. In just a few moments, he arrived in Huyang City with the Star Tower. Inside the quiet room, there was a Star Tower, and Luo Feng had already entered it. Boom! In one of the spatial layers inside the Star Tower, Luo Feng no longer restrained himself, consolidating the godly body at maximum speed, the sea of endless divine power within his own space visibly lowering its water level, and soon, it was completely dried up. Of course, the endless energy from the mysterious land transforming into divine power kept coming non-stop. As much as was sent, Luo Feng transformed all of it into the godly body. 10 trillion kilometers, 11 trillion kilometers. Luo Feng sensed the rapid growth of his godly body, and in just 3 days' land of origin time, Luo Feng's perfect divine body had already grown to its limit. The reckless pouring of energy from the mysterious land thus came to a halt. The blessing of supreme rules, the reckless pouring of energy, marked this one opportunity to become a godly king. My godly body. Luo Feng felt his own self. An immense godly body, sitting cross-legged in the space of the Star Tower, the space of the Star Tower still expanding enough to accommodate Luo Feng fully displaying his godly body. In the environment of the land of origin, my godly body's height is 180 trillion kilometers, which is already higher than the sky. Luo Feng understood this. The distance between heaven and earth in the land of origin varies, as some places are basins and others are mountains, with slight variations in the distance, but generally around 100 trillion kilometer. Thus, even for unlimited godly bodies in the primal chaos realm, cultivating a physical body to match the height of heaven and earth is difficult. But it's different for the godly king of unlimited godly bodies. Godly kings of unlimited godly bodies generally reach a height of 36 trillion kilometers. Even when they display their normal height of godly body and walk on the ground, it is quite effortless. They can even match the height of heaven and earth with a simple shake. Luo Feng understood this. Ancient godly kings, matching the height of heaven and earth, quite normal. But my normal godly body can't even stand upright on the land of origin, even sitting cross-legged. My head is probably almost touching the starry sky, Luo Feng thought. The Star Tower is pretty impressive, just one layer of space expanded to be taller than my body, yet it still feels spacious. Luo Feng was very clear, many cave heaven secret treasures have large spaces, but ones as vast as this still hold infinite value. Luo Feng had long sensed the extraordinariness of the Star Tower, but for now, he also could not fully comprehend it. Godly king level perfect divine body, this is also the final form. From here on, if I want a stronger physical body, a stronger soul, it has to rely on personal cultivation. Luo Feng felt his vigorous foundation. The foundation of the godly body, the divine power reserve far surpasses an ordinary godly king. The quality of divine power is also stronger. The soul foundation, after becoming a godly king, the small universe akin to the primordial cosmos, along with the perfection level godly king godly body, made Luo Feng's soul much stronger. Godly kings who don't cultivate the soul path, aiming for a strong soul, either rely on the physical body nourishing the soul, which is less efficient, or rely on some rare treasures nourishing the soul, which is incredibly valuable. Many in the primal chaos realm, after realizing branches of the great Tao, would rather reincarnate first, to compensate for their own deficiencies, cultivate unlimited godly bodies, and then become godly kings. Luo Feng mused inwardly, the foundation is indeed very important. World life form, transform. With a single thought, Luo Feng began transforming his perfect divine body into a world life form. The perfect divine body is ultimately composed of divine power, and in terms of combat ability, it is still inferior to world life form, which, as a special grade inheritance, begins at the realm of the unbeatable first realm of godly king, with an extremely high upper limit. Boom tilde 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 tilde. Having had a previous transformation experience, Luo Feng was much faster this time, a great amount of divine power continuously transforming. This time, I'm controlling the world life form much more easily. Luo Feng felt the difference. Just having broken through to Godly King, the spiritual will hadn't improved much, but the soul was much larger. But the soul is like an army of 10,000 and an army of 1,000,000. Although both are commanded by the same general, their combat power is utterly different. A vast soul can also control a more massive physical body. Perfect divine power, continuously transforming into a stronger world life form. This continued for a full 5 days. 2 immense physical bodies sat cross-legged inside the Star Tower, one clad in a black robe, the perfect divine body, and one in a silver robe, the world life form. Using up half of the divine power reserve of the perfect divine body, I'm almost at the limit my spiritual will can bear. The silver-robed Luo Feng stood up, and with a mere rise, his presence caused the surrounding space to tremble, resonating loudly within the Star Tower. A powerful soul foundation and the will of the ultimate realm barely allowed me to control such a terrifying physical body, with the burden on my spirit already exceeding 90%. Although the perfect divine body and the world life form had comparable energy reserves, their powers differed greatly. Sustaining a burden on my spirit that exceeds 90% is too exhausting. Normally, it's better to let this world life form sleep. With a thought from Luo Feng, the silver-robed Luo Feng immediately sat down cross-legged. The silver-robed Luo Feng gradually fell into slumber, his breath still ongoing, continuing to stir up storms, while his consciousness wavered weakly. In a state of sleep, the burden on my spirit is very weak. When I'm acting outside normally, it's still best to create a few weaker avatars. Luo Feng had an idea. The cross-legged, silver-robed Luo Feng immediately emitted 3 streaks of silver light, each condensing into an avatar. Each avatar has roughly 1,000th of the energy reserves of a world life form. That's still far stronger than my world life form during the primal chaos realm. Luo Feng was very satisfied. From the primal chaos realm to Godly King. The godly body increased in height by 100-fold, the divine power transformed 100-fold in quality. From an energy perspective, that's a difference of hundreds of millions of times. Today, an avatar is much stronger than the world life form I condensed at great cost during the primal chaos realm. An avatar should be considered invincible within the first realm of the Godly King, thought Luo Feng. Moreover, this avatar of mine can use many exquisite moves. If I go all out, I should be on a higher level than the normal invincibility of the first realm of the Godly King. Luo Feng made a judgment. The so-called invincibility of the first realm of the Godly King is a broad concept, referring to having comprehensive mastery over survival, attack, and defense, all reaching the scopes of the second realm of the Godly King. Different invincible beings of the first realm of the Godly King also have their own specialties. Like the Godly King Jiao, who practices both the infinite and causality great Taos, is far behind Luo Feng in frontal combat but far surpasses Luo Feng in avoiding harm and seeking fortune. In the land of origin, there has been no talk of a Godly King of the first realm defeating a Godly King of the second realm or a Godly King of the second realm defeating one of the ultimate realm. But in the treasure ground infinite space, it is recorded. Theoretically, it's achievable. Luo Feng understood this. This was just theoretically possible. Like the special grade inheritance, just getting started is theoretically possible. According to the world lifeform records, at the first realm of the Godly King, theoretically, one can achieve the most perfect physical body, the 24 forms, thought Luo Feng. This is my next goal. However, I can set it aside for now. The core of my future will be the great Tao of destruction origin. The 24 forms also appeared in the complete great Tao of life origin, represented by the 24 claws, each one being an aspect of the great Tao of life origin. Each aspect is a combination of the 6 branches, all intricately interconnected, more complex and profound than the 10 directions world form. To completely comprehend the 24 forms is unimaginably difficult. Generally, one might have already advanced into the second realm of Godly King with a complete fusion of all branches when they have possibly understood only a few aspects due to such depth in their understanding. For a long time, the world life form will be my strongest physical body. I now need to better exert the strength of my physical body. When it comes to battle and slaughter, the great Tao of destruction origin naturally excels. Luo Feng immediately calmed his mind and sensed the space within his body. An expanse evolved from the primal chaotic space, which, based on Luo Feng's foundation, was naturally much more substantial and vast. Other godly kings generally create a small universe within their body space. For me, it's more suitable to create a source world within my body space, thought Luo Feng, at least the rudimentary form of a source world. On one hand, because of the requirements of the special grade inheritance world lifeform, there is a need to create an inner world. And the ultimate goal of a world is the source world. On the other hand, Luo Feng, with his heart melding into the supreme rules, had observed the full extent of the source world of the land of origin. Open. A thought arose. A small universe located far away in his hometown was continuously consolidating divine power and transmitting it here. The small universe has an upper limit on the energy it can withstand, but for Luo Feng's cultivation needs, the supreme rules do not impose a limit. All creatures are like this, as long as you can utilize it, feel free to use it. Rumble tilde 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 inside the inner world, endless energy converged at the core, beginning to gather a piece of miniature land, completely imitating the appearance of the land of origin, just a miniature version. 99% of the energy gathered here. Then there was the vast Void District. Still in the Void District, 3,000 miniature universes were bred. The original endless power of the world lifeform also merged into this world, allowing this world to evolve naturally. The land of origin evolved to be richer, with flowers, grass, and trees beginning to breed, and the positions of the 3,000 miniature universes naturally adjusting, with vitality starting to appear within them. The operating laws of the entire inner miniature source world were the 6 major branches of life deduced by Luo Feng, hence the world's interior was naturally full of life. This is just a beginning. Luo Feng revealed a smile. Buzz. After the inner world stabilized, Luo Feng used world reflection, and the area of reflection suddenly became much larger than it had been in the past. This range. Luo Feng was also surprised. In the past, the inner world reflected the outside world, covering about 3 primal chaos prefectures, but now, as the physical body became more robust and the inner world more expansive, with a more profound foundation, the reflection range also soared to 16 primal chaos prefectures. Normally, it is very difficult to expand the range of world reflection. Even if the foundation is significantly stronger, the reflective range might only increase a little. Now, from 3 primal chaos prefectures to 16, it's clear how great Luo Feng's improvement was this time. 16 primal chaos prefectures. Although Luo Feng was in Huyang City, everything in the 16 primal chaos prefectures, down to a speck of dust, was under his observation. In such a vast range, many exotic beasts and 12 beings of primal chaos realm were all completely unaware under Luo Feng's scrutiny. I am the world. Nothing can hide. Luo Feng, clothed in silver, stood above Huyang City, his own inner world operation laws inherently with him, causing the supreme rules in the vicinity to temporarily retreat. Various energies around him, different layers of space and time, and even entanglements of causality were all under Luo Feng's observation. Finally, I am close to the Emperor of Tian Kuan. Luo Feng showed a smile. On Polu Mountain, inside Zhong Yun's cave mansion. Yunji, is there something going on between you and Qingyang? Zhong Yun's father made contact. What's going on? Zhong Yun asked in confusion. Did something happen? Qingyang has withdrawn the use rights of the Purple Cloud Palace in Xiangjie City. Our family business was forced to move out, and now it's being spread throughout Xiangjie City. You and Qingyang might have broken up. Qingyang hasn't denied it either, Zhong's father said anxiously. Our business in Xiangjie City has significantly declined. Zhong Yun was in charge of some of her family's business dealings, which is how she originally met Moyu Qingyang. He took back the use rights to Purple Cloud Palace? Zhong Yun fell silent. What exactly happened between you two? Zhong's father pressed. We have been separated for a while now. Zhong Yun didn't hide it anymore. How could you two break up? Zhong's father exclaimed in shock and anger. Why not? As cultivators, we get together when we want to, and we part ways when we wish to. Do I have to tell you everything? Zhong Yun spoke, and right now, I just want to focus solely on cultivation at Polu Mountain. You. Zhong's father was furious. Ever since his daughter had been with Mo Yu Qingyang, his status in the family had greatly increased, and so did the business he was responsible for. I have made up my mind, Zhong Yunj said. Zhong's father was helpless. Ever since his daughter became an eternal true god, it became very difficult for him to control her. Well then, you must seize the opportunity at Polu Mountain and cultivate well, Zhong's father could only say. Of course, I understand. Zhong Yunj responded and then ended the transmission. Flame Wind Ancient Country, Chu Capital, Palace of Emperor Chu. Within the ancient hall, a towering figure opened his eyes and murmured in a low voice, to fully comprehend a complete origin great Tao is far too difficult. No wonder the enlightened one lineage holds the most honored status. After ceasing his cultivation, Emperor Chu looked around. All the rules and regulations of his surroundings were clearly visible to him, and he also sensed a change in one of the many threads of causality entwined with himself. The reason he focused on this thread of causality was that it was deeply entangled with him. It was the causality between himself and his direct disciple, Luo Feng. In the land of origin, the relationship between master and disciple is no less than that of blood relatives, and the intertwining of causality can be imagined. Luo Feng, has he made a breakthrough? Emperor Chu revealed a smile, sensing that the other end of their entwined causality, Luo Feng, had grown much stronger. Through the sense of causality, he has become much more powerful than before, almost comparable to the second realm of godly king. Seeing his disciple become so strong naturally filled Emperor Chu with joy. Luo Feng, come to see me at once. Emperor Chu transmitted his voice through the causality, reaching out from afar. Yes, master. Luo Feng responded through causality. In the past, Luo Feng did not have the ability to communicate through causality, but after becoming a godly king, the laws of his world became much more powerful, and his control over causality deepened. Soon, Luo Feng arrived at the palace of Emperor Chu. Master, Luo Feng entered the hall and immediately offered his respectful salutations. This avatar of his also contained 1/1000th of a world life form's energy reserves. Merely with this avatar, he was indeed worthy of being called invincible within the first realm of godly king. The gap between my teacher and me remains vast. This time, Luo Feng's sensing was even clearer. In his perception, Emperor Chu was like the embodiment of the great Tao of destruction origin, like an immense world that was unshakable, every move carrying boundless destructive might. Luo Feng's avatar, with life preservation capabilities surpassing even the ancestral god of the snow realm, felt that if his master were to make a move, it would likely annihilate this avatar within 2 or 3 strikes. Good. Emperor Chu's eyes shone with a mysterious light, scrutinizing his disciple from various aspects, and praising him. Luo Feng, I didn't expect that having just become a godly king, you could cultivate the great Tao of life and matter to such profound depths. The combination of the two is even more ingenious, achieving such a powerful physical body. Master flatters me. Luo Feng felt somewhat ashamed. He had not cultivated the origin Tao of matter. What he truly cultivated concurrently were the great Tao of life and destruction. There's no need for modesty, Emperor Chu exclaimed with admiration. Across the land of origin, those who reach invincibility in the first realm of godly king without external aid are rare. And you've just become a godly king and have already reached this level. Haha, no amount of praise is too much. Master, what do you think of this body of mine? When facing powerful enemies in the future, what should I be wary of? Luo Feng inquired, as his master was far more experienced and knowledgeable than he was. This body of yours is robust and profound, difficult to erode by conventional means, deeply attuned to the mysteries of the origin Tao of matter, Emperor Chu noted, and it also integrates the great Tao of life origin. I have a feeling that even if I strike with all my might and annihilate you, your physical body could still recover from nothingness, brimming with life force. I'm afraid it would take several strikes for me, each one having to break through the braided cage's barriers and annihilate everything, to completely obliterate your physical body, Emperor Chu stated. Below the level of emperors, I fear none could eradicate your physical body. Luo Feng understood. The paths of life and matter are both difficult to erode. Combined, their effects naturally stack. However, a world life form puts a great strain on the spirit. They generally can't execute intricate techniques, and it's only when Luo Feng wields an avatar with 1,000th of the energy reserve that he can perform elaborate maneuvers. I know you're also skilled in the clone technique, Emperor Chu said with a smile. At your level, even emperors and monarchs must use their true bodies to instantly annihilate one of your avatars, granting all your other avatars sufficient time to employ the reincarnation technique. Luo Feng knew that his ability to preserve life was even more formidable than his master realized. The true body of a world life form held 1,000 times more energy reserves than an avatar. Even emperors and monarchs, as powerful as they are, would need some time to destroy it. Of course, it would still only take a bit longer. Looking over the entire land of origin, only 4 beings can truly kill you, Emperor Chu declared. Which 4? Luo Feng inquired. 2 ancestors, the ancestor from the East Extreme Domain, and Emperor Qing, Emperor Chu replied. They have all transcended the ultimate realm of God King. Luo Feng was shaken. His master had not previously elaborated on the top-tier powers of the land of origin, but this time there were no more secrets. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. You've cultivated to your current realm. It's time you understood the truly terrifying entities of the land of origin. These 4 are very detached. You won't provoke them for now, Emperor Chu said with a smile. When the day comes that you can provoke them, the gap between you and them might not be so large. Luo Feng was surprised, only to find Emperor Chu watching him with a smile. Have confidence. Who knows, maybe one day you might become stronger than the 2 ancestors. What cultivator lacks confidence? Indeed, Luo Feng concurred. In any case, it's still best to avoid emperors and monarchs, Emperor Chu advised, especially those cultivating the primordial bloodline, for they are always tainted by its corruption night and day, and tend to have foul tempers. Disciple understands, Luo Feng replied, aware that in the Thunder Ancient country there was even a half-out-of-control monarch-level powerhouse. Although other emperors and monarchs weren't out of control, their nasty dispositions were entirely understandable. Marquis Chu Yuan's temper was something Luo Feng had witnessed before. The path of cultivation is difficult. When you reach the second realm of Godly King, you will feel it even more clearly, Emperor Chu said. Just like it's easy to comprehend 10 basic laws, but to fuse these 10 laws into one, to comprehend the law of primal chaos, is many times more difficult. Similarly, it's easy to comprehend a few branches of a great Tao, but to perfectly fuse them into one complete Tao is very difficult. Even I haven't been able to do it, Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. Emperors and monarchs are life forms of the ultimate realm of God King, but almost all of them rely on external forces, Emperor Chu said. Only Emperor Qing and the Lord of 10,000 realms from this current era of the land of origin have truly comprehended a complete origin great Tao on their own. Luo Feng nodded. 2 ancestors who transcended the ultimate realm of God King and the ancestral god of the East Extreme Domain were from the previous reincarnation era. Emperor Qing was indeed formidable. As one of the 2 peerless powerhouses who had comprehended a complete origin great Tao in this era, he had even transcended the ultimate realm. No wonder he was so extraordinary among the 13 emperors. When one's life steps into the ultimate realm of God King, there are 3 paths, Emperor Chu explained patiently to his disciple. The first path is to comprehend a complete origin great Tao. This path is the most difficult. Emperor Qing and the Lord of 10,000 realms have done it this way. The second path is like the one your master has taken, relying on a powerful inheritance to comprehend the secret technique for ultimate realm life forms at the pinnacle of the second realm of Godly King. Using this secret technique and supplemented by precious primordial materials, one can fully transition their life into the ultimate realm. After the transformation, every action carries boundless power. Lastly, there's the primordial bloodline route, unlocking the potential of the primordial bloodline and causing one's life form to evolve to the ultimate realm of God King. This path is relatively easier and has a higher ceiling, but it comes with greater risks, Emperor Chu explained. Luo Feng understood. All 3 paths could lead a life form to the ultimate realm. Even the path his master had taken, Luo Feng could sense its difficulty. One first needs a record of the secret technique for ultimate realm life forms. To comprehend an ultimate realm-level secret technique within the second realm of Godly King, and then, with the provision of precious resources, one could succeed in the cultivation. When it comes to strength, We emperors and monarchs should be weaker than those who have comprehended a complete Tao, like the Lord of 10,000 realms. Their secret techniques are more refined, Emperor Chu said with a smile. But we have powerful weapon secret treasures bestowed by ancestors. Combined with the secret treasures, we can naturally contend with the Lord of 10,000 realms and that sector beast. Luo Feng understood. The 13 emperors of the Flame-Wind Imperial clan were at least at the sector beast level. Moreover, they each specialized in different abilities, making their collaboration even more terrifying. Then there were Emperor Ming, Emperor Husband, and Emperor Qing, each one more dazzling than the last. Of course, behind the Imperial clan, there was also the primogenitor Yang Feng, who didn't participate in the Land of Origin's conflicts. This is the strength of the high-level Flame-Wind Ancient Country Imperial clan, Luo Feng sighed inwardly. It's no wonder that the two Imperial clans occupied most of the resources, their power was overwhelming in the Land of Origin. Even the Lord of 10,000 Realms and the Sector Beast of Qianmu Kingdom had to find ways to make connections with the two ancient countries. The East Extreme Domain could only shrink into a corner of the continent. The monarchs of Thunder Ancient Country are also terrifying, Emperor Chu continued. The ancestor of Thunder followed the primordial bloodline path himself, and all the monarchs of Thunder Ancient Country cultivate the primordial bloodline. The power they exhibit is even more troublesome and fearsome than that of the emperors of Flame-Wind Ancient Country who cultivate the primordial bloodline. Besides the two ancient imperial clans, there are the scattered god kings. Emperor Chu looked at Luo Feng. The other creatures of the Land of Origin constitute the vast majority, and the number of second realm god kings they produce is far greater than those of our imperial clans. Of course, Luo Feng understood that places like the Reincarnation Tower had quite a few second realm god kings. Among this group of second realm god kings, there are also those of stunning brilliance. Their talents may even surpass mine, Emperor Chu said. They cultivate multiple great Daos and powerful special grade inheritances. Even if they haven't stepped beyond life-wise, their many powerful secret techniques allow them to be comparable to us. These scattered second realm god kings need to cultivate, want to grow stronger, and hope to reach the ultimate realm too. Naturally, they contend for resources with our two great imperial clans, Emperor Chu said with a smile. They want to compete, and the imperial clans want to compete too, so naturally, conflicts arise, and so does animosity. In the Land of Origin, there are also alien races stirring trouble in secret. Emperor Chu shook his head. Luo Feng, the stronger you get, the more cautious you must be in everything you do, lest you be foolishly exploited without even realizing it. Saying so, Emperor Chu extended his hand from afar, and a streak of flowing light flew towards Luo Feng. Upon touching Luo Feng, a flood of information was transmitted. Luo Feng was shocked. Intelligence about the alien races in the shadows, information on some terrifying existences in the Land of Origin, reports on numerous treasure locations, chances left by Yuan, and detailed information on many fearsome powerhouses. Aside from the scant descriptions of Emperor Qing, the ancestral god of the East Extreme Domain, and the two ancestors who were beyond God King Ultimate Realm, all other powerhouses were recorded in detail, including even some imprisoned mad beings. Each piece of information, if bought, would be extremely expensive, and now it was all given to Luo Feng. Thank you, Master. Luo Feng felt grateful. I am your master, Emperor Chu said. By the way, in the Land of Origin, there are some god kings who cultivate the origin Tao of causality. They have a deeper control over causality and can determine through it that your life has transformed. So, the news of you becoming a god king, it won't take long for it to spread. You need to be prepared. This video will end here.